Even if you run away from this palace, my shadow will follow you. The words left my lips like a vow, dark, unbreakable, and bound with a truth I could no longer hide. She stood before me, her eyes wide with defiance, trembling but brave enough to face the storm that was me. I saw the fear flicker in her gaze, yet beneath it, there was something else, something that called to the fire inside me. She thought she could leave, escape the walls that had become both her prison and my world. But how could she ever escape me when my very soul had already found its reflection in hers? The palace might hold her body, but I held her spirit, her breath, her silence. I took a step closer, the echo of my boots filling the golden hall like a warning. The light from the chandeliers trembled as if the air itself knew my rage. I wasn't angry at her for wanting freedom. I was angry at myself for needing her so deeply. She had turned a ruler into a man possessed. Every night without her felt like a lifetime buried beneath ice, and then every glance she gave someone else ignited a war within me. I wanted to protect her, yet my love had become a cage I couldn't unlock. She didn't understand. It wasn't control I craved. It was closeness, the unbearable desire to never let her slip through my fingers again. I reached out, my hand stopping just before touching her face. The distance between us felt sharper than any blade. "You can run," I whispered, my voice low and heavy, "but my presence will haunt you. My scent will linger in every corner of your world. My name will echo in your silence." I wasn't threatening her. I was confessing the truth of my existence. My love was no gentle spring. It was a storm that would follow her wherever she went. Even if the palace burned, even if the crown turned to dust, I would still find her in the ruins, because she was the only thing worth finding. She turned her gaze away, her breath catching as if she wanted to speak but couldn't. I watched the tears glisten in her lashes, each one breaking something inside me. I wanted to wipe them away, to tell her that I would never hurt her, but that would be a lie. Love like mine always leaves marks. It's not kind, not soft, not simple. It is devotion born from darkness, the kind that consumes rather than comforts. I could see the conflict in her, fear, longing, denial, and it mirrored my own torment. She was my salvation, yet every moment with her felt like punishment. I moved closer until the air between us vanished, until she could feel my heartbeat, uneven, wild, pleading. "You can leave this palace," I murmured, my breath brushing against her ear, "but you will never leave me. Not because I will chase you, but because I already live inside you." Her breath trembled, and I saw the truth flicker in her eyes. She knew it too. No distance, no silence, no defiance could erase what bound us. She could flee from the man, but not from the shadow of his love. And in that moment, as the moonlight touched her tears, I realized the cruelest part of it all. I didn't just want her to stay. I needed her too. Because without her, even the throne beneath my feet meant nothing. The night was colder than usual, a heavy silence cloaking the palace like a secret waiting to be broken. I knew she would try to leave. I had seen it in her eyes long before she made her choice. That quiet rebellion, the restless longing for a freedom she believed existed beyond these gilded walls. I didn't stop her when I should have. I let her believe she could go, because part of me wanted to see if she truly could walk away from what bound us. But deep down, I already knew she couldn't. No one escapes the pull of a bond carved by destiny. The corridors were drenched in moonlight as I walked, each step echoing softly, deliberately. I could hear the faint whisper of hurried footsteps somewhere ahead, the rustle of silk, the trembling of courage trying to mask fear. My heart didn't race, it burned. There was no anger in me, only a deep, aching certainty. She didn't belong to this palace or its walls. but she belonged to me, not because I claimed her, but because she had become the breath that kept me alive. I found her in the garden, standing by the open gates, the night air tangled in her hair. The torchlight flickered against her face, revealing tears she thought the darkness could hide. For a moment, I simply watched her, the defiance that had once burned so brightly in her eyes now flickered like a candle in the wind. She was beautiful in her rebellion, fragile in her courage. My chest tightened painfully. How could something so strong make me feel so weak? When I finally stepped forward, the sound of my voice broke the stillness. Did you really think I wouldn't find you? She froze, her shoulders stiffening, her fingers gripping the edge of her cloak. The silence between us stretched until it hurt. I wanted to be cruel, to remind her that no one leaves a prince without consequence. But the words that came out were softer than I expected. You could have asked me to come with you, I said quietly. You didn't have to run. She turned then, her eyes meeting mine, wide and shimmering like the stars above. Because you never let me breathe, she whispered, and those words cut deeper than any blade. I swallowed hard, my hands curling into fists. She was right. I had loved her so fiercely that I had suffocated her beneath the weight of it. My silence, my possessiveness, my need, they weren't protection, they were chains. I looked at her and saw everything I'd done wrong, yet I still couldn't bring myself to let her go. I took a step closer, my voice low but steady. Maybe you don't understand, I said. Even if you run, my shadow will follow you, not because I wish to trap you, but because my soul knows only one place to rest, and that is with you. The confession spilled out before I could stop it. I wasn't threatening her. I was surrendering. Every word was soaked in desperation, in love that refused to die. Quietly, I reached for her hand, and for a moment, she didn't pull away. The night seemed to hold its breath as we stood there, caught between love and freedom, between the chains of passion and the ache of letting go. I could have ordered her to stay, used the power of a prince, the authority of a ruler, but I didn't. For the first time, I wanted her to choose me, not out of fear, but out of love. My voice trembled as I whispered, if you still wish to leave, I won't stop you. But know this, no matter where you go, I will find you in every breath, in every heartbeat, in every shadow, because some loves are not meant to be forgotten, they are meant to haunt. The night stretched between us like a fragile thread, trembling but unbroken. She stood by the open gate, the wind tugging at her cloak, her hair dancing in the moonlight like strands of rebellion. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The silence was its own language, a conversation of glances, of breaths, of everything left unsaid. I could see her hesitation, the conflict in her eyes. She wanted freedom, yet something held her back. Perhaps it was the memory of my touch, or the echo of the promise I had made that my shadow would always find her. I watched her fingers clutch the fabric at her chest, as if holding her heart in place. I could feel her pain, her exhaustion, the war raging inside her between reason and feeling. And though my pride screamed for me to stay still, to let her go, my heart defied it. Every step she took away from me tore a piece of my soul apart. I had fought wars, conquered enemies, commanded thousands, but I had never known defeat until this moment, when the only battle I truly wanted to win was slipping through my hands. I moved closer, the gravel crunching beneath my boots, and her shoulders stiffened at the sound. The torchlight flickered, painting her in shades of gold and sorrow. You don't understand? I said softly, my voice breaking the silence like a confession. You can leave this palace, you can run to the edge of the world, but I will still be there, not as a chain, but as the echo of everything we were. She turned then, her eyes glistening, and I saw the tears she tried to hide. It wasn't anger in her gaze, it was heartbreak. "You don't know what your love does to me," she whispered, her voice trembling. "It burns. It consumes. I can't breathe beneath it." Her words struck deep, and I felt the weight of every mistake I'd made. Maybe I had loved her too much, too fiercely, too possessively. I thought keeping her close was protection, but it was only fear. Fear of losing the one thing that made me human. And now I was watching that fear become reality. "I only ever wanted to keep you safe," I said, stepping closer, the distance between us shrinking. But I forgot that even love can be a cage if it's built from fear. My voice was unsteady, stripped of command, stripped of pride. "If freedom is what you need, then take it. But know that no distance can erase what's inside you. My love isn't a crown, it's a scar, and it will live beneath your skin long after I'm gone." She looked away, her lips trembling, and I saw it, the flicker of the same pain I carried. The gate stood open behind her, the dark world beyond it whispering promises of escape. Yet the air between us felt heavier than the night itself. She could leave, and maybe she would. But even as the wind pulled her cloak, her eyes lingered on me, searching for something. Maybe strength, maybe forgiveness, maybe the faint hope that I would stop her one last time. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But I didn't, because love, no matter how fierce, cannot grow in captivity. So I let her stand there beneath the moonlight, her tears glistening like shattered stars. My chest ached with the truth I could no longer deny. She was the heartbeat of my kingdom. Yet she was never meant to be owned. As she turned away, my voice found her once more, soft, low, almost broken. "Even if you run, my shadow will follow you," I whispered again. "Not to bind you, but to remind you that somewhere, someone still breathes your name as if it were the only prayer worth saying." The gate creaked softly as she stepped beyond it, and in that sound, I heard the breaking of everything I'd ever held together. The night swallowed her figure, turning her into a shadow that the moon could barely touch. I didn't move. I couldn't. My hands hung uselessly at my sides, my chest rising and falling with breaths that no longer felt like life. The cold air brushed against me, reminding me that the warmth I had once known, her voice, her presence, her defiance, was gone. For the first time, the palace felt enormous and empty, like a kingdom stripped of its soul. I turned toward the gates, watching the darkness that had claimed her. Every instinct in me screamed to run after her, to bring her back, to make her see that love could still be a home if she only stayed. But love had already lost its mercy between us. I had crossed every line between devotion and possession, between tenderness and madness. What right did I have to chase her now? Perhaps letting her go was the only act of love left to me, the only thing still pure in a world built from control and crowns. The wind moved through the courtyard, carrying with it the scent of the night, blooming flowers she loved. It felt cruel, almost deliberate, as though the earth itself wished to taunt me with what I'd lost. I closed my eyes, and for a fleeting moment, I imagined her laughter echoing in the garden again. The sound was so vivid, so alive, that it tore a silent cry from my chest. My heart didn't beat for the throne, for the power, or even for the blood in my veins. It beat for her. And now, it beat for absence. I walked back through the empty halls, the sound of my footsteps heavy and hollow. The portraits of my ancestors stared down at me, their painted eyes filled with judgment. They had ruled with logic, with order, with strength, but none of them had known love like this. None of them had tasted the agony of watching their heart walk away. I wondered if they would have called me weak, or if they too, in their silent centuries, understood that some wars cannot be won with swords. In my chamber, the walls seemed to breathe her memory. The silk curtains she once touched still swayed as if moved by her ghost. I sat by the window, the same one from which I'd first seen her walking in the garden, the same one where I'd once promised her the world. My fingers brushed against the glass, tracing the reflection of the moon, and I whispered her name into the emptiness. It sounded different now, broken, sacred, like a prayer meant only for the night to hear. The truth settled in slowly, painfully. I had not lost her tonight. I had lost her long before, on the day I began loving her as a possession instead of a person. I had tried to guard her like a treasure, forgetting that even the most precious things must be free to shine. And though she was gone, I could still feel her in the shadows of the room, in the rhythm of my breath, in the ache that would never fade. She was everywhere and nowhere at all. As the first light of dawn crept across the horizon, I made a silent vow to the morning sky. I would not forget her. I would not chase her, but I would carry her within me as a lesson, as a scar, as a love too vast for the walls of any palace to contain. And though she might never return, my shadow would still follow her, not to claim her, but to remind her that somewhere in this world a prince had loved her beyond reason, beyond redemption, and beyond the reach of forever. Days turned into nights, and nights into an eternity that refused to end. The palace went on breathing without her. The servants moved, the guards marched, the courtiers whispered. But for me, time had stopped the moment she stepped beyond those gates. Every sound echoed differently now. Every corridor felt colder, and every throne room appearance became a hollow performance. I wore my crown like a punishment, not a privilege. The people still called me Your Highness, but I was no longer a man of blood and power. I was a shadow trying to remember how to live without its light. Her absence had carved a silence inside me so deep that even the sound of my own heartbeat felt foreign. Each dawn, I found myself standing by the same window where I had once watched her walk through the garden. The world outside was unchanged, the same sunrise, the same breeze, but everything within me had shifted beyond repair. I often imagined her somewhere far away, maybe smiling again, free from the weight of my love. The thought should have brought peace, but instead it broke me further, because no matter how much I wanted her happiness, a selfish part of me still wished she'd remember me with longing. I wanted her to miss me, to feel that pull, that ache, that invisible thread that bound our souls together long before either of us spoke of love. I wanted her to know that even if the world forgot us, I never would. At night I roamed the palace halls like a ghost, unable to rest. The torches flickered against the marble walls, and every flicker felt like her gaze, warm, defiant, distant. I'd sit on the edge of my throne, staring into the emptiness of the court, wondering when a kingdom became a cage and love became a curse. My advisors spoke of treaties, of enemies, of alliances, but none of it mattered anymore. I had conquered everything except the loneliness that she left behind. There were moments I almost sent riders to search for her, to bring her back to me, but I stopped myself every time. Love taken by force is not love at all, so I let her go again and again, every morning, every night, reliving that same heartbreak until it became a ritual I could not escape. And yet, even in her absence, she remained mine, not as a possession, but as an ache that refused to fade. I carried her in the quiet of my heart, in the breath between words, in the tremor of my hands when I touched the crown that once symbolized control. She had undone me in ways I would never recover from, and though the world still bowed to me, I was no longer their prince. I was hers, the man who would forever walk beneath the shadow of her memory. grateful for the pain, because it meant that somewhere within me she still lived. The world could take my throne, my kingdom, even my name, but not the echo of her voice that lingered like a promise. She had run, but she had never truly